Woke up early in the morning, grabbed my coffee, now I'm roaring, ready to face the day and getting shit done in business.
Thank you for joining us to the Get Shit Done in Business podcast by Chops Consulting. My name is Jacqueline Murtough. I'm the Client Projects Manager here with Chops. Today's guest, we have Heather Steele with us, joining us from Blue Steel Solutions. And welcome and thank you for joining us today, Heather.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited for this conversation today.
Well, we appreciate you joining us. Would you mind maybe starting off sharing a bit about your background and what led you to your current role?
Yeah, so I started my business about 14 years ago. There's been a lot of change and shifts that have happened since then, but basically went from a full service marketing agency to an agency that really focuses on a strategy first approach, creating marketing strategies that really focus in on the owner or the board of the organization's long-term vision, and then working backwards to what are those one-year goals that we need to accomplish to keep us on track for that vision, keep the business growing, but also in a way that protects what the owner values. Because as a business grows, a lot of things are going to change. And so our process helps figure out what are those non-negotiables, what are the things about the business that you value most that you don't want to lose or sacrifice as you grow. And so we're able to deliver a very detailed, very actionable marketing strategy that's going to meet those one-year goals, protect what people value most, and then most importantly, keep them on track for that long-term vision.
I think that's so important. You can get so busy in doing the day-to-day work of whatever it is you sell or produce that you forget to strategize where you want to go and how you plan on getting there. So like you said, breaking down those strategies into 1, 2 to 5 year goals, and then from there into the objectives. So it's definitely great to have a support service that you can reach out to get some of that knowledge, if you will, because not necessarily everybody will be an expert in that if that's not necessarily what their niche product offering is. So
yeah, and a lot of times we go for the low-hanging fruit, right? As agencies, it's easy to say, well, here's the thing I can help you accelerate in quickly, but that might actually derail that long-term vision. It might not be the right things to focus on. So that's why we have a very different approach that we found gets great results for our clients.
Oh, I can appreciate that. Would you mind telling maybe a little bit about some of the biggest challenges that you've faced, either in the last few years, if the industry noticed any trends or changes, or some maybe projects that there were some challenges with?
Oh, yeah. So definitely there's always some challenges, especially with working with business owners, lots of different personality types there for sure. I would say one of the biggest shifts that we've seen, not necessarily just in the industry, but with business owners overall, is that they are thinking more about what's going to come in the future. We're seeing that exit planning is something that's really become very popular, and most business owners are being inundated by advisors who are wanting to talk to them about their future, what's going to happen to the business. Are they going to sell it? Are they going to transition it? What are they going to do with the ownership of that business? But what people aren't talking about is what can they do today to start making their business run better, making it more efficient, more profitable in a way that aligns with that long-term future. And so that's one of the challenges that we see, is that people are being inundated with this concept of what are you going to do in the next 5 to 10 years to get out of your business, but they're not backtracking that into what do I do today to start laying that groundwork, laying the foundation, and how do I do it in a way that's very profitable and good for the business now, not just good for the business in the future. And so that's something that, we see a lot of owners struggling with. They want to have that long-term vision. They want to know what they're going to do in the future, but they don't really know how to trace that back to the steps that they're going to take today.
Yeah, I think having someone you can work with that understands what the ins and outs of that game plan should be is always very helpful. And I know here at CHOP, we work with our clients on that change management piece in general for all projects. And so specific to marketing and strategy, definitely a good approach to take to that, especially if you want to look at like long term and breaking it down, right?
Mm-hmm.
So looking at, just the trends in general in, the marketing online digital world, have you seen any trends in the, recent past or that are going to be coming out in the future?
We work primarily with B2B businesses, typically service providers. So we're a little, I wouldn't say behind on the trends, but the consumer trends that are really fun and exciting to jump on board with aren't always the best fit for our clients. But what we are seeing is a big resurgence of LinkedIn. Being really active and collaborative on LinkedIn is definitely something that we're seeing, especially consultants, advisors, people who are more in a teaching kind of role in their
Okay.
organization, doing very well there. And then definitely kind of leaning back into that educational marketing approach. We went through a phase there, I think, around the pandemic where people were burned out on webinars and things like
Yes. Zoom
live
fatigue was very
sessions.
real.
And yeah, nobody wanted it. But we're seeing that come back around and start to be more effective again, especially when it's posed in shorter time blocks, things that aren't going to take away too much of a prospect's time, but that are going to really deliver them some true value. We're seeing those start to really work well again as well. And then, of course, video is like the best thing that we think anybody can be doing right now when it
Right.
comes to content marketing, because we're all lazy, right? We don't want to take the time to read anything.
Oh,
So
just tell me
if
the
we
story.
can, yep, if we can get some great video content from our clients, we are super happy. So I would say those are three things that we're seeing work really well in the B2B world. And then, just keeping at it. That's the biggest thing, is no matter what the trends are, just get a strategy and stick with it. Be consistent.
Something's better than nothing to
Yes,
start.
and keep doing it.
Yeah, to get that traction, to get the ball rolling, that's always probably one of the biggest roadblocks we see all of our clients deal with. It's not only just getting like the momentum of like, okay, taking that first step, but it's also getting your stakeholders involved. It's getting your team on board. And so like if you can do it in smaller doses to start, you'll get bigger buy-in down the road, right? It's sort of like it starts like a snowball at the top. By the time we get to the bottom, hopefully it's picked up some speed, traction, it's larger, just momentum moving with it.
Yes.
So that being said, kind of looking at like how things have developed, I'm always curious to ask our guests, did you have any sort of recent successful projects that you've worked on that you'd like to share a bit of insight on, or perhaps some challenges that came up on a project that you think would be helpful for our audience, small to medium-sized business owners, or people who are just looking for some guidance on how to tackle the change management prospect, perhaps specifically to marketing or just in general for operations?
Yeah. So, I think I can share two kind of very contradictory experiences. We had a client that we started working with last summer. We put together a strategy for him, really great plan. Everyone had buy-in, especially his employees were really excited. He supports several sales folks who are out in the field, trying to generate sales for him. And when it came time to start launching some of the marketing initiatives, he had so much imposter syndrome around putting himself out there, really getting the business out in front of people, sharing their success stories, sharing what they do, that we couldn't get anything approved. He put himself in the position of being this roadblock of wanting to approve everything we were doing, but then he felt so uncomfortable, even down to the point of, we did some interviews with some of his clients and they loved the service they had received. I mean, they just couldn't say enough good things. And when he saw the case studies we put together, he felt like they had lied. He felt like they had lied and said that he did a better job than he actually did, which was crazy. But it all came down to this fear of putting himself out there, fear of saying that he can do something, and then what if I fail? What if people think that I'm not as good as I'm saying I'm being? And so that was a really interesting situation of running into someone who was really successful, doing a great job with his clients, but then just so afraid of putting that out there from a branding and marketing standpoint, that we ultimately had to end our relationship because we couldn't make any progress because he was so afraid to put things out and show what great work he's been doing for his clients. Contrasting that with a new client that we've started working with, just within the past 2 or 3 months, we've been implementing our marketing strategy with him, and he's seeing huge success. He's getting referrals coming in on a regular basis. He's been able to close 2 new clients that are exactly in his sweet spot of what he came to us wanting. He's got some opportunities with some events and some speaking engagements that were kind of side projects that we realized that he wanted to do. We went through our vision value model and kind of pulled out what he values. And so we were able to really help him hit the ground running And the biggest difference between these two people, who are very similar when it comes to the service they're providing, how they go about providing their service, was that one was afraid to launch, really held back, didn't want to put anything out there for fear of what are other people going to think, what are they going to say, where the other one said, you know what, do it. I trust
dive
you,
in.
run with it. Let's launch this thing. And man, he's seeing so much more success. Just enjoying the fruits of his labor so quickly.
Yeah.
Because he's trusting the process. He's trusting the people that he's hired to do this work for him. And he's not afraid to put himself out there. And so that's something that I think is a really interesting dichotomy, and something that we see a lot with owners, especially if they've grown their own business. They're so close to it that they're really afraid of, what are people going to think, right? What are people going to, when I put myself out there, when I start doing all of this marketing activity, is it going to be okay? Is it going to turn people off? And those that just say, you know what, if it's not someone's cup of tea, they can look the other way. If
There's
they
9
disagree
billion
with what
people
I'm
on
saying,
this.
that's okay. Yep. The people that this was meant for are going to resonate with it. They're the ones that see the success.
Well, I think that's great advice for anyone who's like on the fence, contemplating, should I take that next step? Should I jump in, dip a toe, or jump? I say jump, but make sure you've got a good support system around you. If you are working with consultants, that you trust them, that they're guiding you with proper timelines and milestones, etc., and that you're just putting out what content you can, and content being your product, service, your marketing, operational support for your team if you have a team, and getting your foot in the door, so to speak, out in the market.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Get to that.
And we have this kind of mantra that's no one cares about your business. Like, seriously, not even your mama. Like, nobody cares.
You have to
You're
care.
the only one that cares. They're the only one that's so caught up in what you're doing and worried about what people are going to think.
Put it out there, because there are always niches for everything. If you don't think there's a niche, there is.
Yep.
How do you see the future of like marketing strategy evolving, and or like digital marketing in the digital realm of tools and resources available?
Yeah, I think that definitely see more people who have that kind of writer's block, like, how do I get started with creating marketing content? We're seeing AI just being a really great resource as that starting place, more to get ideas and rough drafts. I think that's going to continue to build. I think AI is going to take over and do everything for us anytime soon, but it's definitely a great tool for people to watch and see how they can incorporate it into their business, just to get on that starting edge, right? Get things going.
Yeah.
Flowing. Some of the other things that we see coming on the horizon are definitely a lot more video content. Really that short way people walking over success. Thank you. Long-form content is something that's moving out of the digital marketing space and being replaced by video and by shorter content. So finding ways to package up your message and deliver it in a more concise way is something that I think we're going to continue to see as well.
Just a curious comment on like longer website content. How do you think that, and moving more towards like video and image content instead, how do you think that's going to affect SEO or website searchability?
Yeah, so one thing that we've seen is that now searchers are smart enough that they can start to understand the context of video. Most video has some sort of transcript associated with it, right? Anytime you upload something to YouTube or Vimeo, it's automatically creating a transcript. Even if it's not perfect, it's enough for the search engines to have some context about what you're saying, what you're talking about. And then same with images, right? We've always used alt tags and meta descriptions and image descriptions to help people who can't see our images know what they are. But now with the power of AI, search engines are able to read some text within images, understand the context of images. There's more of that at play. Okay. And so I think that's something that's going to keep evolving, right? We've already seen SEO has changed so much in the last just 5 years. It's going to continue to evolve. And the main goal of Google or any of the big search engines is to provide a great experience to their users. They want people to continue using their search engine so that they can serve up those ads and they can make more revenue. And so they're going to continue to do everything they can to make that a great experience for the
user experience. Yeah.
Yep. And if we're seeing that users are leaning more into video, leaning more into short form content, you can bet that the search engines are going to follow suit.
And they'll adapt in ways using AI probably to help still run in like the keywords, searchability, etc. But they're going to extract it in a different way rather than like blog post content or website copy.
Yes, and that's also
still important to have.
You should have just a video on your website.
Yeah, it's going to happy.
But they write more articles just to make you happy. Right. Unless we're writing for an audience of researchers, nobody wants to read all of that. Condense, make videos, and
break a big piece into smaller.
Yes, make it legible or make it readable and consumable to the average person who's going to be buying your product or services. That's going to make them a whole lot happier. And then I hope that we see more of a trend in marketing strategy to move into focusing on that long term. Where are we going as a business, not just in the next year, but the long term. When we create market strategies only focus on revenue goals over the next 12 months, we're missing the bigger picture and we're actually running the risk of hurting the business's long-term goals. If we're focusing, let's say, on just how can we help increase revenue through marketing activities, we may go for the low-hanging fruit process. When we go optimize that not profitable area to generate revenue, or it could be an unstable part of the market. It could even be an opportunity where, yes, we can really drive this brand home and create a lot of opportunity for a business in the short term if we're doing it the right way and building the right processes and systems. That could hurt the long-term vision of maybe selling that company, of maybe transitioning the company to focus on different things. And so really having that long-term vision, knowing not just what does an organization want to accomplish revenue-wise in the next 12 months, but where are they going in the long term? What's that bigger vision? What do they want to accomplish? And then working backward into one strategy. That's going to give you so much more insight and still be able to make big change, make big impact over the next 12 months, but then keep them steered in the right direction for their own vision.
Well, that's great. I think that's all concepts that all business owners should really take to heart when they're looking at planning out. And by planning out, I mean looking at how you're going to implement this cyclically and look at it and review it from a strategy perspective, and then use that breakdown into the work that you actually need to do, right? Whether you hire an agency to break down and help guide you through that, or if you're doing it in-house, how is that going to help guide your marketing communications team, or yourself if you're the one building your own content, of what should be included, how it should be developed, and tailoring it for the audience, for their attention span, the content they want to see, what they're engaging with, and what they will kind of like, comment, and share on, right?
Yeah.
So one of the last questions I'll ask you for today, based on, your experience in the marketing industry and field, for our audience, could you identify maybe there were some common misconceptions about your work or industry and what you would recommend for the audience to think about to maybe pivot or change their mind about it?
Yeah. So I think, a lot of people do sort of see marketing as this black box. They don't really know exactly what's happening. They don't know if anything's working. It's kind of a necessary evil to some organizations, right? It's like, we're going to throw money over there. We have no idea what's happening. We have no idea if it's working, but it's just something we know we have to do. So we'll keep putting that marketing line item in the budget. And I would say that is a huge misconception. If your marketing department or the agency you're working with has not fully communicated with you how they're going to track KPIs, how they're going to the overall business objectives, and they're not reporting those things back to you on a regular basis, then you definitely have a problem.
Yes, agreed.
Huge misconception that you cannot backtrack every single dollar that comes in the door to a specific marketing activity. We can look at what's performing, Where are the activities that are the most revenue generating or the most
Right.
positive impact?
Yep.
Keep those things going, put more budget into them, and get rid of the things that don't work. And so
Absolutely.
that's a huge misconception. And I think that comes back to just marketers not doing their job of relating their activities and their KPIs to business objectives. The other thing that I think is a huge misconception is that with marketing being just kind of the thing that exists on the side of the business, rather than something that's actually driving that overall vision for the business. When you bring your
Yeah.
marketing plan in and it really incorporates your vision, what you value most, what you want to protect, and then you're really anchoring it to your business goals, you're going to see such a bigger impact from what you're doing in marketing, but then you're also going to understand what how you can better. And so one way to really do that is to have a very clear vision that's communicated throughout your organization, and that your marketing team and your branding team is heavily focused on helping you achieve. But a lot of business owners, they don't even know what that vision is, right? I've talked about vision over the last 30 minutes or so. And most people, if you ask them, what do you want your business to do for you in the next 5 years? They've never even thought about it in that context, right? They just want to keep making payroll and keep the lights on, but they haven't thought about what could this business mean to me personally, to my family, to my community, to the people I can impact because of the business. They haven't really sat down and gone through that process. And so we have developed an accelerator program where we actually take business owners through and deep dive into developing that vision, helping them identify their values, and then crafting those 1-year goals that are going to get them on that trajectory. And so that's something that we've launched just this year. And I would highly recommend that any business owner who can't right off the top of their head tell you exactly what their vision is for their business, they need to enroll in the accelerator so they can really around their teamwork and then base their business goals and their marketing branding strategy on that.
Good to know. Yeah, we'll include in the description for the session, obviously, contact information on our website. It will also include a link to this strategy accelerator information page on our website. We'll link that in the description for you as well. Do you have any final thoughts or comments you want to share with our audience before we wrap up for the day?
Yeah, I would say if you're operating from a place of no marketing strategy, that's step one. If you're operating from a place of no business vision, that's actually step 0. Stop everything, back up, route that vision, and then get a really clear marketing strategy in place so you know exactly what you're doing. You're not just making willy-nilly marketing decisions. You're following a clear plan with a definite output of what you expect from that plan before you do anything else. No more marketing dollars spent without a plan.
Absolutely. So it's great to have all these initiatives and ideas, things you want to do, but high level, definitely look at a strategy, break down those strategy into goals into objectives, and objectives will end up into your tasks of actually what work does you need to do. I think that's great advice. And for all of our audience members to little personal writers, where you at in those stages. And like I said, we'll post the strategy accelerator program link in the bio for this session as well. So anyone can reach out there for more information, or off to Chops Consulting website as well. We will share this podcast. The podcast will also be available on all the streaming services as well as on YouTube. So we'll be able to share that with everybody in the near future. We'll get that out to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.